transforming an incredible conversation as to the question of the electric motor that we always have around, or that is being introduced into the world and perhaps being welcomed in a very good note. So as we take you through this, Father, we ask you to as well just tell us what is happening around you. Also, we'll be taking a look at what the papers detail and equally pick on some of the stories that will be having the Standard newspaper, the People Daily, as well as the Daily Nation. And of course, all this speaking largely about this man who is a fallen soldier from 1952 and all the way to 2023. We say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. My name is Linda Alela. This is Morning Cafe, and it begins right away. And as the country has been thrown into this moment of mourning by the sudden demise of former Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha, then our senior education reporter Sharon Baranga shed some light into the life and times of the late professor, specifically during his tenure as the chief of the ministry under the Jubilee regime. And today we do it a little bit different by first of all listening to this very important piece about Magoha before we take a look at the papers.
He joined the Ministry of Education in 2019 when there was a back and forth between a section of education stakeholders and the government concerning the competency-based curriculum. Known for his tough talk and resilience, Magoha took over as the driver of the ministry from CS Amina Mohamed.
My statement to the country today is perhaps the most solemn and significant since I joined this ministry more than 3 years ago.
Magoha took over the ministry when the education sector was undergoing a number of reforms.
It is the last examination which is being released under the Jubilee administration of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, a regime that has seen a 6-year run of the most clean and flawless national examination campaigns that have restored the integrity and credibility of our national certification system.
When it came to the competency-based curriculum, he fought hard to drown the voices coming from concerned parties. He is well known for the statement, "The train has left the station."
As a government, we have done everything possible to midwife the transition of 844 to CBC. So far, the CBC has successfully been implemented up to grade 5. Next month, by the grace of God, the pioneers will join grade 6 and sit for their first national assessment later this year. These children have already spent 8 years in the competency-based curriculum.
Well, the CS was not a favorite when it came to a section of education stakeholders. A number of times in his speeches, he always invoked the president's name.
I want to thank the President for offering the ministry all the support out of the broad that has enabled us to carry the broad reforms.
And he has an advice for the person who will take over from him.
All these preparations, ladies and gentlemen, make me extremely comfortable that my successor will find a good script to follow in the CBC implementation. But I want to dare say once again that this ministry is not a ministry for the faint-hearted. The education ministry is not a ministry for the faint-hearted, starting from Jogo House to the field and to your house.
Magoha's tenure at the Ministry of Education ends with the current government.
As I prepare to hand over the basic education mantle to my successor, which only God knows, I am proud of my record and I remain confident that the lady or gentleman who will come after me will find a comfortable place to continue from. That is not to say that Jogo House is a place that is easy to work in. It is a place which does not require people who do not have a hardened heart and the personality to fight corruption.
Before his appointment as Education CS, he served as chairman of Kenya National Examination Council in 2016, and he was also a vice-chancellor at the University of Nairobi. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Now, the former Cabinet Secretary of Education collapsed 4 times before passing on, and this is according to a close colleague, Professor Walter Mwanda. Speaking at the Lee Funeral Home Tuesday evening, Mwanda stated that Magoha was rushed to the National Hospital Accident and Emergency Wing, but efforts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful, and that is the Nairobi Hospital.
While speaking to the media at the Lee Funeral Home, Professor Walter Mwanda, a close colleague, reminisced the moments before the demise of the former Cabinet Secretary of Education, George Magoha.
Professor Walter Mwanda, the departed Professor George Omore Magoha, was my great friend, mentor, colleague in all aspects. At around 3 o'clock today, I got a phone call from the wife that she needed me urgently. I was in a clinic at the Kenyatta National Hospital. I was seeing a patient, and I called a colleague to take over. I rushed to my car, and as I was driving away from Kenyatta about 4 kilometers, she called again and asked me whether I had a blood pressure machine. I told her I would get one. I rushed back to my clinic, got a blood pressure machine. As I was about 4 kilometers to the home, she SMS and asked me whether I could get an ambulance. And I was too close to home, their home. There was a traffic jam, and I drove right to the home. At the gate, I met some attendants who rushed me in. I met the son at the door who rushed me straight to where he was.
According to Mwanda, Magoha was taken to the Nairobi Hospital after collapsing at home.
He went into a car, and the wife and my driver, we followed. They were ahead of us about 200 meters. They reached about 10 minutes earlier than us. From the information, he had what we call a collapse. He was resuscitated back by the son, who is a medical doctor. And then 100 meters to the casualty of the Nairobi Hospital, he collapsed again, was rushed to casualty. There was resuscitation, which took quite a bit of time, but they were not able to revive him. That was a short message. What I know is that I must say he was waiting for me, because he had told me some things about his life and his final days. And that has been fulfilled, and I shall continue doing so.
A statement by the Nairobi Hospital details that the efforts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful.
Weeks we have been communicating, but he's been extremely busy. I must say, for the first time, he didn't reply to my call on Saturday. But then later on, I called him using another number, and we discussed the way forward with regards to arrangement of his brother's death.
Mwanda, who refers Magoha as a mentor, has stated that the former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Nairobi was making arrangements for the burial of his brother, Richard Alex Nyabera Magoha, who passed away last year on the 6th of December.
Well, Professor George Magoha passed on a day the world marked the International Day for Education Paul Kirubi now takes us through Magoha's life journey.
Professor George Magoha, Professor of Surgery at the Maseno University School of Medicine, was born in 1952 in Kisumu County. He would later on moved in with his older brother John Obare and his wife Agatha Christine Obare to Nairobi County, where he later grew up in Jerusalem Eastlands in Nairobi County. When he came to Nairobi, he attended Dr. David Livingstone Primary School in Nairobi County before joining Starehe Boys Center School, where he passed very well, and later on joined the Strathmore School for his A-level, where he completed his O-level studies. His studies took him through the University Teaching Hospital in Nigeria before moving to postgraduate medical school in the United Kingdom. He would later on serve as a professor of surgery at Maseno University School of Medicine after serving as a cabinet secretary for education between the year 2019 to 2022, when former President Uhuru Kenyatta completed his term. Earlier on, he was the chairman of the Kenya National Examinations Council between the year 2016 to 2019, before serving as the vice chancellor University of Nairobi between the year 2005 and 2015. His immediate task as the chairman of NEC was to reform the council to arrest the widespread academic dishonesty and corruption in the administration of national examinations.
If you have a friend who agrees with you all the time, that person is a fool. Because a normal person should be telling you what you don't want to hear.
His most remarkable achievement at the University of Nairobi was instituting discipline among the academic staff, non-teaching staff and the students. 10 years he served as the Vice Chancellor. The students went on strike fewer times than before his time in office. After serving in different capacities in the education sector, he was appointed as the Cabinet Secretary of Education under the leadership of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, having been appointed in the year 2019. Magoha was sworn in on March 26, 2019, replacing Amina Mohamed, who was transferred to the sports docket. Magoha was married to Dr. Barbara Magoha, and together they had one child, Michael Magoha. Paul Kirubi, TV47, Nairobi.
And definitely this as well is the key story in most of the papers this morning. The guitarist who became minister, Professor George Magoha, Albert Amore, and of course 1952 to 2023, and mourning an icon from an accidental artist in Nairobi's Eastlands, then to a top urological surgeon and a tough academic administrator. Magoha's uncompromising approach saw him become one of the country's most memorable education minister ever, and he exited the stage yesterday aged 71, a story that has been captured on page 6 and 7 of the Standard newspaper, and a developing story that we'll all be looking at as well. The biggest story on the Daily Nation, George Magoha, right there from 1952 all the way to 2023, a no-nonsense former education cabinet secretary, renowned professor of medicine and tough university administrator who did not suffer fools, gladly died suddenly of cardiac arrest, and last evening dealing a double blow to a family that was preparing to bury another son, that is Professor Richard Magoha, this weekend. This is captured on page 6 and 7, and yes, the biggest story, and we'll be looking at that. Definitely also the very same story that finds itself on the People Daily. But before we expound it further on what other stories are on the papers, allow us to as well go back to some of these ones that we have prepared as a team. And the government has prohibited schools from selling school uniforms as it moves to crack down on suppliers colluding with learning institutions to overcharge the parents. This as the Ministry of Education has directed primary schools to include the junior secondary school initials in their names.
It is now illegal for schools to sell school uniforms. This is according to Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, who said schools have no business selling uniforms and should instead focus on academics.
Our schools have got no business selling uniforms. Our teachers need to focus on academia and helping our children to transition to CBC and other objectives that the ministry has set.
This in a move to crack down on suppliers colluding with learning institutions to overcharge parents. The Ministry of Education at the same time has warned school heads against directing parents on where to purchase uniforms.
Our parents have got absolute freedom and discretion on where to buy a uniform. So when you hear that a school is selling uniform, ask them, where are the sewing machines? How are your tailors? Who is being employed from this school?
The Ministry of Education has released guidelines for implementation of junior secondary education. Under the new guidelines, schools with both primary and secondary shall adopt the name of the primary school in which they are domiciled and revise their names to include the junior secondary school initials except in special circumstances. For instance, a school currently named Lengaju Primary School shall adopt Lengaju Primary and Junior Secondary School as its name. To ensure financial management of public junior secondary schools in the transition period, the ministry says there will be 2 separate bank accounts for junior and primary school sections. The ministry has further adjusted the 2023 school calendar, making changes to the duration of the national exams. KCPE and KPSEA will begin on November 30th and end on November 2nd. Students writing KCSE will also sit the exams from November 3rd to November 24th, contrary to the initial calendar that showed KCSE would take place from November 10th to December 1st. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
And members of parliament again boycotted their workshop over the disbursement of CDF funds. The leaders have also cleared the air, saying that the move is not politically motivated, while they want the government to act first or else they cease from any parliamentary business.
For the second day now, members of parliament have stormed out from their induction retreat in Mombasa over the delayed disbursement of the CDF funds, citing that it impairs critical functions, including disbursement of bursaries to needy students.
It is pure balderdash to come and entertain nonsensical, comical and ridiculous activities being done here while our people are suffering. I know what it means to lack school fees.
Kumekuwa na kiangazi kikubwa, mifugo wamekufa, wale wazazi hawana chochote cha kupeleka watoto shule. Na serikali inatuambia inataka 100% transition. Watoto wa maskini watasoma aje? Watalipa karo na nini? Washa hata karo, watoto wanaenda shule hamna chakula shuleni. Kwa hivyo tunasema hivi kama wabunge, priorities ya serikali ni upside down. Wanaanza na vitu ambazo si za maana sana, lakini ile pesa ambaye inamfikia mwananchi wa kawaida ndizo zinakosa.
They have threatened to grind all parliamentary businesses to a halt and not attend the ongoing induction, citing that the government has neglected its mandate with only 4 months remaining before the closure of the current financial year.
Without that funding in our accounts, we are unable to operate. And it is that reason that we have felt that it will actually be difficult for business of the day to continue without an assurance that we are going to get those funds in our accounts.
In addition, they have slammed an attempt by the government to stop them from boycotting the workshop, while declaring that the move is not politically instigated.
We have been given communication from Treasury whereby the PS does not have an answer on this issue. And we want to be very categorical. Without CDF money for schools, for the poor children to go back to school, we have no business to discuss anything.
That PS, he has no information. Because when he came to request us to proceed with the meeting, and he has no solution. He is not part of the solution, he is part of the problem. And they ought to have projected ahead the money that was supposed to be given to us.
Paul, Monyo TV 47.
Now, the return of street protests and rallies by Azimio Coalition Party leader Raila Odinga Monday is a well-choreographed script rehearsed for decades by the opposition leader against former presidents, that is Daniel Moi, Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta, which all resulted in cooperation and handshakes or sports. And of course, President William Ruto has, however, vowed to end that, and he calls a tired Odinga script, raising the question of whether he will succeed where his predecessors have failed.
Azimio Coalition Party leader Raila Odinga's homecoming rally at Kamukuji grounds in Nairobi on Monday was not only a show of defiance, but an acid test for President William Ruto, on how he handles the veteran opposition leader who has secured 3 handshakes with the country's 3 former presidents.
Hata baba yao Nyayo walikuwa hawezi kunitisha mimi. Najua kwamba mimi ninaenda jela mara 3.
Wamezoea hiyo tabia, lakini we are telling them the end has come. There is no more. Ile mulipata kwa vitisho sasa iwatoshe. Wacha sasa tufanyie kazi wananchi wa taifa letu la Kenya. Hatuwezi kuwa tunashughulikia watu 5, 6, 10 kila mwaka nenda miaka rudi. Ati kwa sababu wanataka kutupangia maandamano.
The August 9 presidential election setting President William Ruto apart from his predecessors in a case of a student outsmarting the teacher when he beat Odinga and retired President Uhuru Kenyatta in the polls. Will the president also set a new record by putting to an end Odinga's era of handshakes, despite the 2 men dismissing a handshake as a pipe dream? Or will the president cave in to Odinga's pressure?
When he became a member of parliament up to now, he has never lost a single thing. And I'm telling you, even the way he's going to plan for Raila, he's going to tame him properly. Raila Odinga is going to be tamed by Ruto.
That the government they are dealing with has no legitimacy. Is Raila Odinga likely to go and be sworn in as the people's president? What will be the end game if Raila Odinga decides to take that angle?
Raila is also his teacher, and he outsmarted him in getting elected. The question is whether the teacher has found new ammunition to fix the student.
During late President Moi's regime, Odinga, who came 3rd in the 1997 general election, surprised friend and foe when he met Moi at his Kabarak home, securing the first handshake in Kasarani in the year 1998, only for his entry to lead to Kanu's downfall after Moi failed to nominate him as his successor in the lead-up to the 2002 general election. During late President Mwai Kibaki's regime, a fallout over government positions and Kibaki's defeat in the 2005 referendum heightened political temperatures, leading to the bloody 2007 general election. Another handshake was midwifed by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan between Odinga and Kibaki. In 2017, Odinga secured his 3rd handshake with retired President Uhuru Kenyatta after Odinga sworn himself in at Uhuru Park while leading a resistance that divided the country down the middle. Until the various handshakes, Ruto's predecessors used police force to counter Odinga's rallies and street protests. For President William Ruto, it's a different script. He has given Odinga's peace and security to conduct his rallies, raising questions about how long this will last. With odds heavily stacked against President William Ruto going by history, will the president cause an upset by setting his own precedent against Odinga? Apul Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Still on politics, Wafula Chebukati seemingly holding nothing back, where he shared his truth on what transpired at the National Tallying Center, painting a picture to the events that led to the fallout of the poll agency into 2. The Agri-Muchelule-led tribunal patiently lent their ear for the 2nd day running as the remnant commissioners not retired told on the Cherera, told on the Cherera 4 as part of their testimony as they appeared as witnesses. Tuesday, Chebukati making a dawning revelation that a team led by Raphael Tuju offered to bribe them. Our very own Moige William was keeping tabs with the proceedings and filed this very report.
To God, that the
10 a.m. and Wafula Chebukati made his way before the Justice Agri-Muchelule-led tribunal to give his side of the story on the conduct of the 4 dissenting commissioners, 3 who have since resigned. Chebukati, who received both praise and condemnation in equal measure, did not hold back speaking about the events just before the declaration of William Ruto as president-elect, when the breakaway commissioners led by Juliana Cherera disputed the results. For the first time, Chebukati says it was all rosy until the 15th of August, just before they got some unexpected guest.
They came in Actually, I didn't say yes they should come, but they came in just like that, uninvited. They just walked in. Honorable Raphael Tuju, he was at that point in time a cabinet secretary in the previous government, and he just he came there on behalf of the Azimio party.
While laying it all bare, Chebukati, in his usual demeanor, even stated that they were promised hefty bribes if they agreed to tinker with the presidential results in favor of the Azimio candidate Raila Odinga.
Also, Honorable Tuju spoke. He said that it was necessary that we moderate these results in favor of Baba, and that any contrary declaration of results would plunge the country into chaos. The person who spoke these words was Raphael Tuju, and that's what he said. That we consider the request, then we shall be rewarded.
You shall be rewarded.
Yes.
A scenario that led to a split within the commission.
The commissioner must sit alongside the others, said this message requires serious consideration, and she supported the adoption of the communication.
Later on, another team comprising of some members of the Assumption of Office Committee visited IEBC with a list of demands to the commission.
The team leader, Mr. Kennedy Kihara, introduced the team of the four, introduced himself, and the participants, Mr. Kenneth Ogeto, Solicitor General, Mr. Hilary Mtiambai, Inspector General of Police, and Lieutenant General Francis Omondo Gola, the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces. That was the team. The message was that if I declared the final election results in favor of Honorable William Samoei Ruto as President-elect, the country is going to burn. He went on to caution that if we proceeded with the declaration of Honorable Ruto as President-elect and chaos erupt, then the blood of Kenyans, the blood of the dead Kenyans will be on our hands.
Monday, former Commissioner Abdi Guli and Boya Molo appeared before the tribunal also, testifying that they were put under pressure to declare Raila Odinga as the president or force a runoff in last year's general election. Meanwhile, efforts by the Azimio One Kenya coalition party to join the proceedings of the tribunal probing the conduct of the four former IEBC commissioners have flopped. This is after the 9-member tribunal led by appellate Judge Aggrey Muchelule declined the application, citing, among other things, time constraints. The tribunal is set to reconvene on the 9th of February for the last submissions. Muige William, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, a family in Etono village, Bobasi constituency in Kisii County is crying for justice after their 5-year-old son disappeared and under unclear circumstances on 9th December 2022 while under the custody of his grandmother, who is now accused of selling the boy. Now, this even as religious organizations in Busia team up with the county government to fight human trafficking that has been rampant in the region.
After the death of her husband, Florence Nyandoro allegedly approached her daughter Faith Bosibori to request for permission to stay with her children to keep her company and ease the loneliness brought about by the death of their grandfather last year. However, Bosibori would soon be informed of her son's disappearance in unclear circumstances. According to 10-year-old Eugene Obama, a woman named Mary Kerubo visited her grandmother for 2 days and left, only to resurface on 9th December, the last day that Eugene set his eyes on his younger brother.
Halafu akaenda na tena kuja kurudi siku ya Ijumaa. Sisi tukatumwa mtoni tuleta maji tuoge na sisi. Tukaleta maji. Tukaanza kutafuta mtoto tuende, kuna mahali tulikuwa tunaenda ndio tupige mpira, nikaanza kumtafuta akanikosa, nikauliza nyanyangu mtoto ako wapi, akaniambia mimi sijui mahali mtoto ako.
When she got wind of her son's disappearance, Bosibori confronted her mother but was scared off by threats and beatings, and after filing a report at the Kenyenya police station, her mother was arrested, charged at Ogembo Law Courts, and later released on a 50,000 bond by her uncles.
Kaenda polisi wakanimalizia, wakaenda wakashika mama yangu. Fanya mama yangu alishikwa, ndugu yangu akatoroka. Kufungua mlango nikapata watu wengi wenye ambao sijui, kuangalia sijui. Ninapigwa na mafimbo, wako na mapanga.
The distraught mother is now asking for the government's intervention to reunite her with her son, even as she narrates fears for her life, alleging a plot to kill her by her uncles and mother. Meanwhile, religious organizations in Busia have launched a sensitization of the public in an effort to fight human trafficking, even as lack of legal knowledge, poverty, and loopholes to enter the neighboring counties illegally have been named as the highest contributors to the spike in cases of human trafficking.
Kuja kuhamasisha jamii zetu, tuambie ulanguzi wa wanadamu ni nini, unatendeka namna gani.
Most children are affected, and the children that are affected are between ages 10 to 16. And you see this kind of age group, they do not give consent because they are not yet 18 years.
According to the most recent report released by the Children's Services in 2020, approximately 17,500 people are trafficked in Kenya every year, half of the victims being minors. Sylvia Nyongesa, TV 47.
Now, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, in partnership with other stakeholders, have launched a report on the lives of prisoners on death row in Kenya. Now, the report indicates that 56% of those sentenced to death were convicted of robbery with violence, with 44% of murder. The study further said that most prisoners on death row were poorly educated, with more than 10 having never received formal education, and 2/3 only having completed primary schools. 15% indicated they had been experiencing mental health, while 43% said they had been relying on alcohol abuse. The commission is pushing for the abolition of death penalty in Kenya, saying it's contrary to human rights.
Need to engage Kenyan citizens on this issue rather than upholding an outdated legacy of the past.
The fact that death penalty is contrary to human rights. The right to life is a fundamental right, as we all know, and is enshrined in several human rights instruments. And therefore, it is imperative that we as Kenya live up to our international commitment to respect that right, irrespective of the circumstances. Secondly, death penalty is not a deterrent. Research has indicated that death penalty is not effective in fighting crime, and therefore its application doesn't make the society any safer. Violence in form of death penalty only contributes to more violence by the populace.
Ministry of Health has flagged off 4 trucks of assorted health, water, sanitation and hygiene supplies to ASO regions to prevent the spread of cholera, which has so far affected 4,186 Kenyans, leading to 78 deaths. Speaking during the launch, Health CS Susan Nakhumicha said that cholera has continued to affect many Kenyans since the first case was reported in October last year. Some of the 14 counties include Nairobi, Kiambu, Nakuru, Uasin Gishu, Kajiado, Murang'a, Homa Bay, Machakos, Garissa, Wajir and Kitui. The flagged off commodities are projected to sustain the affected counties ahead of the launch of the cholera vaccine rollout next week. CS Nakhumicha was accompanied by the East African Community and ASOL counterpart Rebecca Miano, and that is PS Public Health Dr. Josephine Boro, and as well as representatives from the German Embassy and UNICEF.
Doing our best to respond to cholera outbreak, we have continued to experience other important public health issues. These have called for energies to be focused on effective surveillance and preparedness for any eventualities. In September 2022, Uganda reported Ebola virus disease outbreak. Given the geographical proximity of our country to Uganda, this outbreak posed a clear and present risk to our own population. However, 2 weeks ago, we were happy to receive news that the outbreak had come to an end without crossing into the country.
My ministry is working very closely with the Ministry of Health and our development partners, non-state actors, Kenyans of goodwill, to ensure that we surmount this drought situation and the effects of climate change. And we look forward to working on longer term and resilient ways of ensuring that in future we even respond better.
We are going to the places where the crisis, the drought hits very hard right now. And I want to assure you that Germany and Europe is on the side of Kenya and all the East African countries that are so heavily affected by this crisis. We are talking now about the 4th and the 5th rainy season that might not deliver as much rain as necessary for a solid agricultural production. And this is of course affecting mainly the children and the women and the fragile parts of the population in the remote areas.
So we hope that along with the supplies, the efforts that is already underway will go a long way in ensuring that we have a preparedness but also a response strategy together with a resilience approach to address some of these areas in ensuring no child is left behind.
All right, it's at this very point that we shift gears to the conversation as well, just by, first of all, starting to, commemorate the life of George Albert Magoha and the gentleman in studio. Gentlemen that have been here, and not the first time that we are discussing Magoha on set, just that this time around it's on a somber mood. And of course, I'll allow for them to pay their tribute to this, gentleman. And Abdullahi Elas, a governance and policy expert, is with us this morning. Equally, Dr. Eric Ragalo, political analyst, and we also have Dr. Peter Mbai, governance expert. Eric Ragalo, you will forgive me, you know why, but it's good to have you this morning, as well as Dr. Peter Mbai. Thank you so much for creating time. And equally, Abdullahi Elas, as we get to this conversation, I think the very first moment is that the country is mourning, and we have to start from this very point of just getting you tribute to the family and friends of Professor George Magoha. Eric.
Wow. You start with me. Somber, very, very somber.
Yeah.
Magoha, Magoha, Magoha. Now what do you say about Magoha?
We've been here, we've hit him hard at some point.
No, the only time we hit Magoha is that everyone will dance and Magoha will be the only person who doesn't find
with his court
happiness in anything that's happening around. But other than that, Magoha is someone who finished his career as a minister at the highest note. He killed as the chair of Kenya National Examination Council. Hakukuwa na wizi wa exam. As the minister, we saw the improvement in schools. And as an academician, Magoha has trained many doctors to their best level. As a urologist, he has done his surgeries to many patients. And as a scientist, he's written many papers that people should read and our country should read and see what they can do about the papers Magoha has done. Because some of these papers would help revolutionize education. And as one of the people who met Magoha closely, very painful. And especially when someone has to die like that, having not gotten, I would say so sick, just getting a heart attack, pop, and you're gone. Saa ingine kusema kwa heri ni vizuri. Death is death, and everyone will face death. But as I saw Professor Mwanga say yesterday, Magoha knew his time has arrived. And he was able to say, I'm in peace. That tells you of the caliber of the character of Magoha. alienda ukipatana na kifo inakuja, si utalia nipeleke hospitali, naenda. Him, he was come and say my time has come. And will it reach a point when my time comes, I will tell my people, imefika and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Hiyo ilinifunza sana jana. Naomba ikifika wakati wangu pia nitaweza sema hivyo.
Call the right people, call the people.
Call the right people around you.
Yeah.
And now when your best friend comes, umuulize umefika. Meaning he was giving his family to his best friend. Take care of these people. Now I'm leaving. That's what I took as an African, because it was not just called. A call from a dying person is very important.
Very important.
The last that I can say about Magoha, he left us. He had said something at the last minute about the university. And it's still painful to say that you have so many colleges on top of buildings, on top of magorofas. Such should not be a university college.
Is it?
How do you have a university college on top of a bar?
In this time and age.
Yes. We should have university colleges as schools. School of Medicine in Kapenguria, School of Arts in Mombasa, under one MKU School of Arts. So when you're doing arts, you go to Mombasa. Not some schools on top of story buildings in town. So you have too many universities that are not doing us any good. And the only part, and very painful, is Magoha leaving the Ministry of Education. Some of the universities are very poor. And some of the universities are going to be privatized.
Yeah, most of them.
So that will lead many students not get university.
Does it?
Take.
But then again, does it really matter, the location? Those are some of the things that we're asking today in a country where education is quite expensive, in a country where, you know, it's a competitive world, in a country where there's that urge and desire for education, in a country where there's that desire to be accommodated at least somewhere, in a country where the universities that are legit, that we have, that have been there, the colleges really cannot accommodate all the students. What do you do when you start thinking of that? In a country where people equally want to do business, they want to earn a living, and we have professionals that are jobless, and they would want to set up structures, they would want to set up, you know, institutions that would as well allow them to pass some of these, skills and prowess that they have to other students.
Linda, we lost in the Ministry of Education. My friend here is an academician. Being a doctor in part of what he's done, so he's gone all the way to PhD. He's an academician, and that tells you he's more not an educationist. He's more of an art person. When you reach PhD, you need to do things hands-on. You write your thesis has to work. What I'm meaning is, we lost it. For us to have a primary school, a definite primary school is supposed to have like a 10-acre land, where you have a land for games, a land for school where the structures are, and many other extracurricular activity. Nowadays, you have a secondary school on a story building, a primary school on a story building. What is a university? If you understand what a university is, then you'll understand a university is not a building to study. No. A university has so many other things. That's why when you are in Nairobi University, there is drama, there is YCS, there is the, what do you call this, the CU, where Ruto was the master, the CU. I mean, there are all these things, we call them extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
But when you're putting a university on a building, and these are young guys of age 21, 22, when you do psychology, my friend will tell you they're in the age of self-identification. So you identify yourself with even games. Mean Machine, a rugby team, is the Nairobi University rugby team in the National League. So when it is on a story building, when will you even get a team? You know. So these universities should just be collapsed, and we get structured university where you can do other things.
Fair enough. And Dr. Ray.
Thank you very much. For me, last night was quite a sad day. We lost one of the foremost sons of this republic. Professor Magoha, son of Magoha, was very, very determined. Whatever he said to do, he did. I was a student at the University of Nairobi. I was doing my master's degree when he was a VC. And I can tell you, instead of waiting for things to happen, he would go and call all the fiery son leaders you knew of those years, the likes of Karl Marx. And somehow, and then we wondered, he would just, we wouldn't see him much, but somehow things would just work. He's resolute, he has been determined, passionate, and willing to go against the grain. Now, what he did at NEC was not normal. I mean, but he had this resolution that, yes, it can be done. And of course, we could see that a determined person. So I would want to pass my deepest condolences to the family and this republic and all the people who worked with him. I would say this. Professor Kim, within that time, he did the best he could and left a legacy. During his time, he did his best. I'm reminded of the words in the Bible that David said that he did his best in his generation. And he rested on. I think, and he just rested when he has done his best. And God decided to remove him from the earth because he did all what he could have been done. But look at how humble he is. He had accepted to go back and teach. Just that. I mean, to show, you guys thought that because I'm a CS, that I'm too big. No, I'll go back and teach. And that's what the kind of character we are saying. Of course, it's unfortunate that he was actually waiting to receive the body of the brother for the burial this weekend. It's a double tragedy for the family. And we are saying, Linda, on issues of health and death, we leave it in the hands of God. We don't know. We didn't know. You know, it's only God who knows. Ours is to do the best we can. And that's for me the biggest lesson. Do the best you can. You may be wrong, but please, can you stand for something? Either stand or fall for something. Don't be in the middle. So that you are remembered. You can see the acres of time and space because he stood for something. There are many people who live in this world, but nobody notices them. They are not known anywhere because they don't stand for anything. Either they are right or wrong. I mean, stand for something. That for me was the biggest thing. Now, but on the issue of right from when he became the dean and the principal of Health College of at the University of Nairobi, rose to become deputy VC. Look at the transition. This was a man who knew where he was going. All the way. He has done his best. He has served this country where we can say his place in history is well. Now, but on education, well, he was the head, he was the face of CBC, and which, thankfully, he made some calls and said, he told the current president, please, if you will, don't abolish this thing. Let it continue. And true, the President Ruto said, well, we are not in a mood of trying to kill everything that was started. Well, it had issues. We will look at it, and here it is. CBC will continue with a bit of modifications. But there's something profound he spoke about the higher education. He lamented in his final days as a CS about the struggling situation of the higher university, the universities and higher education in Kenya. And he pointed to some issues that there needs some radical thinking. And he said, I've not had a lot of time to concentrate on this.
But why not? And he comes in this very sector, with a proper background and understanding of operations, of the university setup. And then one word we'd want to ask, if during his reign this was not addressed, what are the chances?
There's something very troubling, because I thought Professor, having been actually a VC himself, DVC and all that, he could have, but then he lamented and said, there was too much to do in the primary and secondary section. Remember, he actually made a recommendation that there should be a whole ministry on higher education. He's a human being, and I like that. For me, that was very profound. He could have wanted to come out, I did everything. But he said, no, 80% of my time and resources, I spent it on the primary and secondary. But then, that was good because in that work doesn't finish. He did what he could to say, excuse me, future regime, can you also look at that? And that is why today we are saying we have to look. And yesterday I was with the CS for trade when he was talking about the issue of universities and saying, Egerton, let's take an example, very rich, but poor, who have not been paid billions of shillings. It's lack of thinking. So what are we saying? This is a government institution. There is a whole arm of privatization. We want to partner with, for example, Stanford or whatever university or Harvard to come and do what can be done here so that students will be packing their bags from South Africa, from Nigeria, to come and study in Kenyan universities. So in short, we are saying the higher university that Professor Magoha didn't finish, that also needs to be done, looked afresh, and those are the proposals we are in on the table as the root of government to try to spur it on. So for me, rest in peace, Magoha, son of Magoha, you have done your best, you did your best, you served this country in the best capacities, actually in the highest levels, both as a professional, urologist, as an administrator, as a commissioner, you went to the highest level. Rest in peace.
Two Magoha sons, with an age gap of around 2 years, and of course dying, in the difference of maybe a month or less.
Actually,
professors for that matter, great brains.
Actually, 3, not 2.
3 years, 3?
There's Captain Magoha.
Yes.
Who is? Then the Professor Magoha, Texas.
Yes.
Then the Magoha VVC.
You see.
They're actually 3, not 2.
We have lost as a country, to be honest. These are great brains that you really want to say that would have had in such a short span. But then again, the main one here, the Magoha, who's been instrumental in the growth of the education sector, in the medical field, and in so much of spaces in the country.
Thank you very much, Linda, and good morning to the viewers. First of all, I'll just send my condolences to the family that a great Kenyan has come to rest. But I'm also happy he lived. Maybe people wanted him to live longer, but God had better plans. As a Muslim, in the Quran we say every soul shall taste death.
Yeah.
So he is the generation that was very young when we got independence. When you are 71 and Kenya is 60, he was barely 11 years when we got independence. So God allowed him at least the grace of seeing 5 presidents. I would like also to give him credit for all he has done in the department or the ministry, but also even this result belongs to him. The current Form Force, our result is his effort. You cannot have university students if there are no people passing from primary and secondary. So I think the thinking, and one of the things I always admire about him is what you call self-discipline, from his dressing code to his manners. People say he's not happy. I mean, how do you define happiness? He's dealing with a country that is 50 million. He's dealing with a department or an institution or a ministry that is, the politics of education is making it, people running for contracts and self-interest. Sometimes you wonder why you say, why is he not implementing this or that? There's a lot of politics in these departments, knowing what our country is. So I think we need to have the discipline, because if you look at the current cabinet secretary in Magoha, their demeanor is different, their character is different. I will associate myself with Magoha and Matiang'i in the Ministry of Education. You don't need to be soft for a country that needs very disciplined people, when majority are indisciplined. Because when you steal public resources, you're a very indisciplined person. So what we will do is that we will make sure that as a country, his documents come of experience. He has lived within Kenya. He has been, I think, a lecturer in Nigeria. He traveled around the world, well-read, well-traveled, well-written. So I think what we need to do is, the best way to keep his memory is at least to keep alive his vision for this country. And I want to say that any man who has no vision and has no virtue, you're just like the cow eating and just defecating around. Because God did not bring you to this world so that you eat, make babies, and then die. No, God give you a brain so that you think, so that you help others. But helping does not necessarily mean physical, or rather financial. You can use your brain to help, the country by. I mean, we are here because people thought of some of the things we are doing today. I mean, see, this, CBC was. I remember watching him telling President Uhuru, study this thing before you say we're going to abolish it.
Yeah.
Let's rectify the ills, but it is good for the country. Because when I go back, as I told you before, why do you pump me with this old information that does not, if I wanted to be a journalist from very young age, as young as class 8, because I remember when I was growing up, BBC was the only thing we were listening then. Why didn't you nurture me from class 8 to be a journalist? My brother here is a doctor. Why don't you nurture him for being in medicine? Some people are good in sciences, others are good in arts or social sciences. Current grades, if you analyze, someone gets an A in maths and C- in English. Someone gets A in chemistry, he gets C plain in English. So, and nature has a way of, when we speak to people who did medicine, when they write things, we normally say, their English handwriting looks
terrible.
Very weird. No, yes. It's because they were trained to do that. It's not the handwriting.
Is it? Yeah.
So as a country, let's have leaders that we can emulate when you go, because what matters is not when you're alive. What matters is what people say when you die.
Yeah.
So Magoha has left this country with a vision in education. The current cabinet secretary will find it very difficult to fill the shoes of that man who is going to rest very soon in his hometowns.
Allow us to take a short break, and we still come back, speak briefly on the question of education. We have so much that is playing out in this very sector, and in the filling of shoes, we really seek to see how best then Machogu is going to come in to make sure that he makes the necessary adjustments for the betterment of the education sector after this break.
Here, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, like this is a line. Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori la historia. Katika kipindi Ufahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutuku.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body.
Yes.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. It's about commemorating the life of Professor George Magoha, developing story, and we'll be having our reporters stationed across the different parts of the country, to just get the views of the people in relation to this, as they also update us some more on what the family has to say in relation to the preparations of this very important moment. Of course, messages of condolences continue to trickle in, in praise of George Magoha. We'll be looking at all this. Just make sure that you keep it right here. But right in studio, we have Eric Regalo, we have Dr. Peter Mbai, as well as Lahi Abbas, as we unpack on some of these very matters. And now that we speak of Magoha, I think it's fair that we articulate some matters as to the question of education. There's not a single day I have gotten the newspaper and failed to see a story on education, especially in the recent past, on the front page. And most of the times, the reports that we receive are not as good. Just what will it take for us to make sure that we have a proper education sector to address some of these matters, that now senators will have to be pushed to a point of probing on claims of massive cheating, perhaps on the KCSE results that we have seen today, that today we have to speak of different, questions on the question of education, and that the CS for trade has then to come in to say that principals should not involve themselves in, you know, this uniform selling and all that. And it is so common. I think I am sending one of the students to school and I'm told that the uniform is as expensive as 18,000 and it varies across the different parts. And you ask yourself, just what is bedeviling this sector that has had some of the most strong personalities in the country manning this very sector? Just why? If you think of Matiang'i, you think of Magoha, you think of Amina Mohamed, who equally is not just anybody. You think of I can't remember his name, who came in right before the likes of Amina and Magoha. And you just ask yourself, just what, Abdullahi?
Well, I think first of all, we have a constitution that is barely 10, 11 years old. Did the government invest in civic education? Because if you look at most of these myriad problems we're facing, it's because there is lack of involvement. The government cannot be in every village to monitor head teachers what they're doing. The first line of defense is the public. So when we say school teachers or head teachers or principals are selling uniforms or they're selling books, I thought those were supposed to be sold in bookshops, and I need to take my daughter to a tailor so that I get a uniform, so that someone else can have the benefit of doing business with me. But when the head teacher is the one doing business with me, he's the one monitoring and having the physical accountability of the school, then what makes you think he's not going to even steal from the school? Because if he can morally do business with the school, stealing will not be a problem. So I think right now we have the first cohort of CBC students going to junior secondary. Now, we were here before discussing how prepared are those schools. The UDA government, the Kenya Kwanza government, said that they want schools to allocate classes. There is variation of the uniform between the primary and the junior secondary. So there are a lot of things that are supposed to be put in place. The biggest problem in this country, and I saw it even in my own county in Mandera, is you look at education as one unit. It's not one unit. It's an institution where it's supposed to be having a framework from kindergarten up to university. Because if you don't train and nurture the children from primary, they will go to secondary, and then some will proceed to universities. Because how many percent will go to universities? 19, 20% of the total number of students who have gone. Close to 30,000 got East. Where do we take them? So those who got D plane, D minus, E can still go to technical colleges and do mechanics, masonry, hands-on. Hands-on sometimes will make you more money because you'll get into construction or the welding sector or this and that. Like currently in Mandera, the people mainly who are doing, designing the interiors of the house or designing beds made of mahogany or steel beds that are meant for the gate are from down Kenya. So which means we do not have them. So it's incumbent upon the county government of Mandera to now think of how they are going to source local talents, take these kids to colleges so that people can have, earnings. You don't say somebody got, just because he got E, it doesn't mean he necessarily cannot perform other functions. For you to do welding, you don't need even education. You just need to be shown how it's done. Art and craft, when we were doing this. So I think as a country, I will still go back how discipline is the Kenyan society.
Yeah.
So that's where the problem is. So those now who are in charge, it's not about the cabinet secretary only. The people working under him, the permanent secretaries, the directors, the principals, the education officers, they should know that the children who are born, why is a doctor taking care of a child in the hospital? It's because he knows this is the doctor that is going to lead this country tomorrow. So it's a generation to generation.
Yeah.
So every person who is trying to execute a policy must think of the next generation. Because my grandfather was born in 1907.
Yeah.
Okay? My father was born in 1958. I was born in the 80s. And my son has, is maybe 11, 12 years.
Right.
So there will be generations. How do we leave legacy for this generation so that the next generation can, take this country, to a better place? So as a society, we have the best laws.
Right.
We have the best frameworks and policies. I said in this forum and other forums, laws and policies are written in documents. The men and women overseeing the implementation will either make it or break it depending on how credible they are. They have values, they have principles.
Right.
And I told you one time in this show, Kenya is 83% Christian, but who is stealing from us?
The very same.
The same very Northern Kenya is led by Muslims. Who is stealing from them?
The very same.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda. You talked about uniform, and I'm a lover of history, though. How did we start uniform? When the white man came to Africa, he found people naked. People would walk with skin. They started school, and people had to wear some clothes. And that was the emergence of uniform, so that when you go home, you may wear your skin, but when you come to school, you are covered. So people would wear uniform, and my brother will tell you from the northern Kenya, uniform will turn out to be clothes home. Even in Western, you'll find mtu ako na nguo ya shule na anaenda nayo kanisani. Amevaa ile uniform, juana nguo ingine, siku ya kanisa, the uniform becomes the Sunday best. And evolution of uniform started because of lack. The times have changed. We should stop lamenting. The white people who started uniform today are not putting on uniform. The white people who brought religion in Kenya, they could not take religion to India because India refused to take Christianity. They continued with their Buddhism. Indians refused to wear their clothes. They continued wearing their hizo nguo za kujifunika na I don't know how they call them. Okay? So is uniform okay? The only problem with Africa is that we took na tukameza na tukaishiba.
But
we
then
took
again,
everything.
You know, that uniformity is very important.
It's
we
not
also understand
important.
That we come from different backgrounds, and therefore, if you'd say now, come with your home gears.
India don't come from different backgrounds.
They do.
They do. In fact, the poorest of the worlds are also in India. Go to around Gange River, where they do everything in one river. You will see the poverty in India. Why is it that we Africans are the only people who think we come from different background, so we do things because the white man told us to do this. We fear to change because we come from different background. Uniform is hogwash. People should go to school. People should not be looking alike going to school. Who said that in a wedding you should wear that white thing on your body like a woman and then the man wear a suit? Who said that?
Imagine a boarding setup and now
there should not even be boarding school. Why would you board?
Interesting.
I mean, my thinking is things should be leveled in the country where systems are working, that in every constituency, in every county, you have education as same as in Nyanza, is same offered in Northeastern, is same offered in Coast. So the guy in Coast does not even need to go to Nyanza. That's why you don't need to move far from your parent, because kids need parents up to a certain level. Why would you take your kid boarding to school at 13, where they still need parenting? Parenting at 13 is important. Parenting at 20 is important. You're giving a teacher parenting, and then kids are parenting each other in secondary school. That's why we're hearing stories we have today. I mean, I'm just being social and looking at things parallel to what we do. And that is why now you're thinking, some people are thinking, at the Senate start probe on fishy top grades. How fishy were they? When Mangu used to score 100 A's in 1995.
It was not fishy then.
It was not fishy. Because Garbatula was not okay. There was a national school called Garbatula. They could not even afford 3 A's. But Mangu could score 100 A's and it was okay. Ni Mangu, tumezoea. Alliance gave us how many A's the other day? When we were topping everyone here, when our principal was taken to South Africa to lead some school in South Africa, I've forgotten his name. Alliance took A's all the time. But it is Kenya High. It is Alliance. It is, but some school from the Bundu called Agorosare scored A's where I came from. That's where my school was. Led the school. People said, hey, na hiyo jina ni gani Agorosare? Then another school sasa hata mbaya sana ya Kisii imetoa ma A's, watu wanashtuka. Kwani you didn't want others to grow? Now the question is, even Kisii didn't even lead in A's. Siaya led 72 A's. If I look at Nyanza, Siaya has 72 A's. Migori has 61, still in Luo Nyanza. Kisumu has 59 A's, still in Luo Nyanza. Kisii comes number 4 in Nyanza with 51 A's. Homa Bay comes with 47 A's. Then Nyamira again from the Kisii comes with 30 A's. But you make noise that Kisiis wanatushinda namna. Should Kisii not go to school and study and beat you people?
Dr. Mbai.
In fact, they should beat us thoroughly so that we wake up. When schools in Mount Kenya were beating everybody, Alliance, Mangu, Maryhill, it was okay. When a school from Garbatula beats you, you start saying exam cheating.
Is this a question?
All
right, well, interesting. And we also know that during the Magoha, during the Matiang'i times, also there were, how students are accommodated to schools, and there was a bit of a twist in relation to that. Initially, it was, if you've performed well, automatically you're going to a good school. But at least today, it's a totally different.
Yes.
And therefore, there's that mixing of students. So why are we surprised at this?
Yes. Now, I want to say two things. One, let us not make this issue again. Kenyans, we have this thing of everything we make it either political or regional or tribal. Like now, how Dr. is beginning to say, why is it central? He's comparing. Oh, no. Education is supposed to be an equalizer, the way it's supposed to be. We don't want to go that direction. Can we talk about the integrity of our education system? That is a topic. Yeah. So let's not go be outside there saying why is it when Mangu or Central Kenya schools. That's not the way to go. What I would want to say is that we have seen results. There are so many varied reactions. For me, as a governance expert, I would want to say, if Senate, we elected senators, all of us, if they feel it's something they want to do, let them go do the probe. I mean, you cannot prevent them from saying they want to do the probe. If they want to do something about it, they will come back, they will find us in Kenya, they will bring a report. Kenyans are going to engage on the report because sometimes we should not jump also when we see somebody is asking questions. If somebody wants to ask questions about the integrity of education, let them ask, and then let those questions they are asking be answered. That is how to grow this nation. So for me, I would want to say there was issues or not because I'm not an expert. For me, I analyze issues the way they come. I'm not an expert. I'm not the one who examined the kids. I'm not the one who marked. However, if people ask questions about, all of us went through some schooling. You know what mean grades are. You know how to study and grow from an E student to a C student to an A. We all know. Some things are just common sense, right? So we know what it means there's what we used to call a D student. There's what we used to call a C student. There's what we used to call an A student or a B student. So we all know those things. I know miracles. Jesus used to do miracles like water to wine. I'm not saying anything, but if miracles have begun to happen, we thank God in this era. So what I'm saying is, let the people who want to ask questions ask. Let the people who need answers be answered, and we move on. And that one I want to stop there. However, and I want to say this today, and I thank the God because our president has gone through school from literally nursery up to the highest level of education. Please, if we want to secure our future as a nation, let us have integrity in the education system. I'm saying this without fear of contradiction. If we want to secure the future of our children who even this morning have gone to school, please let us secure the integrity so that let us have a nice system that makes sure that we have something which you can trust, all of us can trust. That's number two, the issue of uniforms. This is what I want to say, that there has been cartels and cartels lined up. If you go and buy uniform in some shop along some road, in Kisii, Nakuru, Mombasa, wherever you stay, it is 3 times cheaper than what you'll be asked to go and pay the teacher, school administration. You cannot have teachers doing business. Let them teach. Can you go and buy your uniform where you want to go and buy your uniform? Do you know what has been happening? Head teachers and principals, they collude with manufacturers or the wholesalers or whatever. And then they are given commissions. Now the question is this. If the teacher is the one literally getting money so that they can get some commission to make sure that parents buy uniform in schools, that is what the government is saying. And that's what through the CS of Trade, that this cannot be allowed to happen. Please go and buy your uniforms. You be told you need this cardigan, this size, and all that, and all that, and all that. Go and buy, come to school. We want and then somebody, I remember I was there and somebody was asking, what happens? I mean, why don't you give them a notice? You cannot be given a notice to stop what is wrong. You are simply told to stop it. So we don't expect any, as government, we don't expect any principle literally doing business about uniform.
So this is
even buckets, you know,
this is
like
instant.
that is immediately.
Okay.
That is immediate. Buckets, you know, how do you go buy buckets from school? You go and buy buckets from the shop. Yeah. We want to encourage people who are doing business about clothes and all that, mattresses, you know, those kind of things. Please teach us. That is what we are saying. We want to make sure those people who have shops around there, you know, around those schools, you know, please go and sell those things. They are 3 times cheaper. We don't want to condone those kind of things.
I hope this gets to the bottom.
And finally,
Daktari, yes,
and finally on that issue. Now we are talking. Remember, the whole conversation about education system and in honor of Professor Magoha.
Make it brief.
Yes, and that thing therefore was the issue which I mentioned about the university issue. That thing, and I am happy Daktari, that one he has no problem with. If our universities are not working, that 8 billion in debts you have not paid NSSF for teachers. Can you imagine a lecturer, a PhD holder, forcing such a person to go on strike on the streets to go and demand some pay? That's not possible. And look, you have your kid, you are able to pay in the academy. Why then do you come and say the government is richer more than anybody else? We can pay for your university education. That's where we are going wrong. And so those are the things that the government is looking to say. Can we work for things that are sustainable?
Let's close it on this question of the debate. You wanted to say something?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I think my brothers should not be agitated if we talk about Central, because they were in power and they had a lot of access to resources. So relax, Daktari.
There's a bit of truth in what Daktari...
No, it's not about truth. I can discuss Central without his emotions.
Right.
This is one country. That is one. 2, I went to school myself. I went to school with people who came with A in English. I came with a B. The first spelling we did in phonetics and phonology, we beat some of them.
Right.
So I'm telling you this, if there was cheating in Mangu then, now cheating has been devolved. If there was cheating then in Alliance, my cousins have gone to Alliance. Sometimes the kind of topics they revise is in the paper next day. Okay? So I want to tell Daktari, the things that people used to access before is now evenly distributed.
Okay.
So relax. I come from Mandera North. I agree that that is not an excuse. But I'm saying if there was cheating in those schools then and there is cheating now there is conformity. The integrity of everything we do in this country, not only education, the integrity of individuals we bring out. I come from Mandera North. There's a small school, county school called Ramodimtu, okay, in my ward where I contested. I was helping them revise English literature then when I was campaigning back in early August and in late July. That school in 2018 had D-Plane as a main school, okay? Wow. A young principal called Mahad was brought, okay? He told the kids no going out. I'll provide food. The teachers from Down Kenya who are there are given free food and free housing. He told them, save your salary. Every night and every morning, let's give the kids an hour revision. Okay? So the teachers are always in the staff room. Students will come and then you will have one-to-one. He brought it from D minus, D plane to D plus, 2018. 2019, C minus, C plane, C plus. This year, we are at B minus.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
He has 86 boys with him. 84 are coming to university.
Nice.
Whether you got A or nothing, the university grade in this country is C+.
C+, yeah.
So when you have C+ up to A, what varies is the courses you do. Medicine is attracting the highest grade because you're dealing with human beings. So you need to be trained vigorously. It is not everybody who gets A who succeeds in medicine. Daktari is here. How many classmates have dropped second year, third year, fourth year? The class you start with 500, they will finish 100. So what we're saying is this. It is not every school that cheats. But if the results and integrity of the exam, Ramudimtu boys and the Ramudimtu people did not set the exam.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So if there was cheating, it was from the guys who were handling the exams. So that's where the problem is. Not the guy who got the Mwakenya paper through WhatsApp in Mandera County. You're blaming the wrong people. The ministry guys who is dealing with exams, National Council of Examination, NEC.
Yes.
National Examination
and this
Council. That's where the problem is. Do we set them? No. What happens is all teachers send the questions, then there are modalities, exams are set. Well, how do they leak? That's where the problem is.
Yes.
This idea of saying uniform, or even like in Nairobi, I see 5-year, 6-year-old child being sent to school at 5 a.m. That's a punishment. Why do you do that? I told my family members, like my family, the mother of my children, we are not taking our kids to school until they are 7. Okay? So that my daughter knows when I train her, I tell her, a man should not touch here, here, and here of your body.
Right.
And she knows. So that if somebody does anything to her, she comes back to me. Okay? I can teach her ABCD at home. My daughter is 3.5 years old. She's barely speaking English now. And we're just learning in English. There is no, miracle in teaching a child ABCD. So what we need to do is this. Let children be children. Let them, like in Japan and Finland, kids go to school when they're 7. And 50% they play.
Actually, they play more in school
and sleep.
than it's reading.
And sleep.
Yes.
Isn't it? So what we need to do is, this idea of English and pass, hey, life is not about English.
Yeah.
If you look at the Kenya National Bureau of Standards, majority of people who have big houses in Nairobi have never gone to school.
Sadly.
The guys who live in most of these estates. I am not underrating education. Educations, you're taken to school so that you think, question things.
Right.
It's not about money. Money will come. But when I was going to school, I went to school so that I have this brain God gave me, knowledge is inside, I have perspective of things. That's why I was able, from 2013, I was among the few people who are taking Mandela County to court. It's because my dad does not understand the complexity of governance. He does not understand the complexity of law.
Is it not what then is going to affect these students in future if we are to delay their progress, if that would be looked at as delay in terms of saying that now, well, there's no pressure and the world is moving very fast. When you are saying that, well, take them at 7, others are going to school at 3 and therefore then they will also be saying it's because my dad does not understand the complexity of this and that and everything owing to what will be playing
out. Look at Finland and Japan. How much is Japan producing?
Yes.
We take our kids to school at 3 years old. What do we produce?
Yes.
Even toothpick comes from China.
Is that really the...
We write good reports.
Yes.
Listen, watch Dr. Nemalize. We write good reports and we are human resource for international corporations.
Yes.
We work for IMF. We work for... Go to Girigiri. Watu wanakaa kazi yao ni kuandika proposals, reports, wanakula nyama paka hapa kuna nyama pa. Toothpick inatoka wapi? Where is toothpick from?
China.
So what are you telling me? What education do you have?
Dr. briefly as we...
I think... well, today you have parents who are very radical. They want to change everything that they found. One doesn't want uniforms even in secondary school. They want guys to go like Indians. I don't know. And the other one, okay, fine. Let me put this way. Yeah. I don't think. Okay, the issue of the age to go to school, there is a standard age set. But we live in a system where we have some guidelines.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. It's not in the constitution, but we have some guidelines. So, well, I think my friend has a right to say their kids will go to school at 7. Others have a right to say from PP1, PP2, you have to start somewhere, surely. I don't think that will determine the end result on the grades you get finally and the courses, what you get. I don't think so. I mean, you PP1, PP2, there's a year you're supposed to go, there's a year you're supposed to be in grade 1. I mean, there's some guidelines by the ministry. I mean, let's stick to that without maybe putting so many superstitions and cultural issues.
But even with these guidelines, and sometimes they speak, let them be allowed to get to age 4 before you take them to school. But we see them going to school at the age of 2. For as long as they're able, maybe because parents are thinking, well, this is the easiest.
Because parents don't have time for
There's
their
some
kids.
failure. There's some failure there. You don't take a kid to anywhere called anything at 2 or 3.
And which they do.
Try.
It's so common.
This kid is going to live another 60, 70 years. So it's good for the formative ages. Sacrifice something. I mean, if you can, I know it's expensive, but you can hire some house help to help in the house. I mean, surely there's actually what I would propose is the other way. There should be some guidance to say we don't expect any kid anywhere. Call it, they are given names. Before it was just PP1, PP2. Then they are now,
They've added another one.
They are saying below.
Wanaita nini?
All those kind of things.
Nothing.
Those should be banned. Now that one I support.
Yes.
We need to have minimum.
Let kids be kids.
Please go. It's your
Maybe
kid.
that's why they are going to play somewhere.
No.
Should you pay
They should play at home.
Should you pay fee for your kid to go and play? And should your kid wear uniform at 2 years?
That one I disagree. Please, it's your kid. Kindly take care of that kid at home. The way is still there should be a guideline from the Minister of Health about breastfeeding. Let's take care of these kids from the beginning, but I agree, but not 7 years. 7
years. But some of us actually went
for us.
Those was our ages. Those years when you used to go, there was no nothing like BP1, BP2.
But like what it is that he says, has it stopped you from being a doctor eventually?
Well, I did what I could, but this day sure there's BP1, PP2 to prepare before you go to grade 1. So I will advise my friend.
7 is a little bit too late.
It's a bit too late.
Allow us to take a short
break. At least do PP1, PP2, and then we shall see.
I don't
After this break.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, like this is alive.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia, kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutuku.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday, with a new year comes endless possibilities, and as we continue to tell the stories of those abled differently, do make sure to join us on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
Somehow, because their biggest problem today is on the NGCDF, and they have decided that they will boycott some of these sittings simply because they say you cannot pay, such an expensive and luxurious, hotel for us or moments for us, yet you cannot disburse the amounts of money that you want or we want for you to in relation to the NGCDF. Whether it is illegal, it is not illegal, is a question that we really do not understand. Alas, sorry. It's because
First of all,
yes.
they do not know why they were elected.
Is it?
I don't think so. That's one. Two.
Learned members of parliament.
I don't think they are learned.
Seasoned politicians.
Learned people think. They are schooled, some of them. There's a difference. When you are being taken for a training in parliament, do you think the people who prepared the budgetary item for the training were stupid? No.
Definitely no.
It's called capacity building for the country. You're just not going to be a member of parliament today. Tomorrow you're going to be a PS. What if you don't know the difference between a policy paper and a budget?
Yeah.
So the training...
The induction is very important.
Training is the way to build the capacity and competence of the citizens for this country. For this country. So I do not think, and I'm doing a piece this week or next week, early this week on Standard and Star, about that the CDF question is a moral question. It is not a constitutional or politics. When we had the act come up in 2003 and then amended in 2015, we did not have devolution in 2003. Okay? So it was a way of cushioning things, resources to the ground. I come from Mandera North. I know what my member of parliament is doing to CDF. He is only enriching his cohorts and relatives.
Is it?
It is not helping. Because even what Nini Nyoro is doing in his constituency and what Muhammad Ali is doing in Nyali and what the same amount is doing in Mandera North, you will feel like very ashamed. Yeah. Because these guys are building structures that are very long lasting. This one is only meant to give people gifts so that they make 1 class, 2 class, and then it's like that. Yesterday I was talking to Dr. Duncan, who is a PhD holder in law, and I told him, can you look at the question of CDF? Whether we can go to High Court and ask Treasury to stop the money. Because Supreme Court has already pronounced itself, it's unconstitutional. So once something is pronounced as unconstitutional, the Attorney General advisory remains an advisory. It is not law.
Yes.
Even for the advisory himself, there was no public participation in it. As the Attorney General, a legal advisor to the government, he will have asked his office, can you sample the 47 counties and get me a report of what Kenyans think, so that it's informed by research. So Kenyans and the members of parliament must know we are operating under a reformist constitution where the drafter have been thinking about the myriads of problems we had before and how that is going to transform this country. So members of parliament cannot have their cake and eat it.
On several occasions, we've seen them having their cake and eat it.
Yes.
They have twisted the SRC. At this point, they're actually even speaking of impeaching the CS for matters finance or treasury. And at this very point, they are the lawmakers.
Yes, but they are also our employees. We employed them.
Yes.
They can be recalled. I think in 1.5 or 2 years, they can be recalled. Kenyans can petition the parliament and bring all of them down. They did not only threaten Treasury. I have information that the controller of budget was in Mombasa. I have information that the controller of Auditor General was in Mombasa. But they did not go to the workshop because they saw, as a constitutional office, they will be seen as,
protectors and...
No, not protectors. People who are, succumbing to the pressure of parliament when the independent commission. So I was told the controller of budget came back. The Auditor General came back because they saw it was a shame that this is the kind of process they want to take part in. So why do you take 25 secretariat to Mombasa? To do what? To do what? 25 secretariat. So what we are saying is this. Members of parliament, if you go to the Hansard, which I sometimes go to and get information, some of them leave parliament earning almost 1 million shillings with car grant. The only time they go they speak is when they go to the lavatory or the toilet. You will see a member of parliament who was there for 5 years. There is no motion he brought. There is no bill even he brought for amendment. There is nothing he does. Even speaking there, some of them, they shake. Why? They did not build their life before parliament. So right now, for you to be a member of parliament, you only need to auction your arithmetic tribalism. So far that you have some money, you become a member of parliament, and then the idiocy we saw in Mombasa is the drama we are treated with in this country.
And of course, upon the calls for austerity, we still have not received anything. Dr. We're coming to you.
Okay. We start with the academic before we go to the medical. Whatever.
He's a governor. Linda, he's more of a moderator. He's a governor.
Surely. I don't know, but please. So thank you. Exactly. Yeah, seated ground. Thank you, my senior. Very well acceptable. Now, what I'm thinking, let us always not get into the temptation of electing leaders. Then we are verifying them the next day. Nobody elected themselves. Those MPs we are verifying, they were elected by Kenyans. Whatever method you are saying, what happened before nominations and all that, finally they were elected by ABC. And people went and voted. Whatever happened there, that is the law and the democracy in Kenya. So my thinking would be, what are they saying about CDF? What was the deal? That they would get some money before, that was December, you remember? Some money every week or something like that. Now, I think the whole issue is, there could have been some delay in dispensing the money because nobody is saying that MPs will not get CDF. As far as I'm concerned, the government position is that they are going to dispense the CDF. It was promised, but now the whole issue we are talking about here could be the issue of timing. Maybe because the whole issue about CDF is about the taxes we pay. This money comes in, it's collected daily, it's collected by KRA, it's sent to various government votes and all that. So what I would say seated here is that nobody has reneged on the promise to give CDF to MPs. In the actual sense, the president has actually written, to parliament to actually put it in the constitution. So that's number one, let's agree. Number two, the whole issue is the issue of process and procedure between the CS and the disbursement of the money. So for what the MPs are saying is that because they're under pressure from the constituents who are actually supposed to take their kids to school, they feel that they may need another method of engaging to show their displeasure. Yeah. That look, if we don't do this, our people are watching. And the guys are calling us every day, asking us when are the bursaries, because they are used to that whenever they are taking back kids to school, they get bursaries. So it's not a big issue. That's what I wanted to say. The whole issue about Mombasa, it's just some members of parliament thinking, look, well, you are telling us to go for induction, but there's something pressing us harder. Can you kindly help us to sort this thing? So it has nothing to do with the integrity of MPs. I don't know to go there because look here. It is a good. Does he consult for parliament? It is a good. No. You see, this is the issue. I also vied. Come on, I'll be the first one here to verify my MP, but I can't go that direction because the fact that I vied and I lost for MP, for example, doesn't mean I come and say MPs are these, they are this. No, it was not my time. My time will come, but do I want to be verified? When I become MP one day or governor? No. No. Look.
Don't do the right thing.
So let me ask you something. I'm saying this for record. Let me just clearly put it this way.
Yes.
The MPs have a right to say, hey, the delay, we agreed December, we have not seen the money, the parents are crying. But I'm saying also as government, nobody has reneged on the promise. It's all about processes. You will hear, for example, we are seated here. That's why I'm saying it's not a big issue. In another 2, 3, 4 days, you hear the money has come. So what was the
and even the biggest problem is not the fact that the money will come, but the fact that, there are some legal, questions that lie therein. They will tell you the NGCDF.
It's all about the money. I can tell you. There's nothing. There are no legal issues. By the way, let me clear. Anybody who thinks, by the way, that the MPs are not getting money because of anything legal, That is not true. It's all about
Listen,
processes.
listen.
The issue of holding the the issue of getting the money and paying the money.
Why should they receive money when they are supposed to oversight legislation?
Oh, that's an old
Why?
Linda.
We have division right now.
And the last,
let's be honest.
Yes,
let's be honest
let's
with
get
each
to
other.
time.
Yes.
And the last is time. And I mean, problem as well is the fact that sometimes these monies are given to them, but then what do they do with the money?
Linda, let's be honest with one another. 2010 Constitution, when it came in, when did CDF start? Which year?
203.
203. Then 2010 Constitution came in. Okay? When the 2010 Constitution came in, it gave us the powers and the functions of each institution.
And resources.
And that is the time issue started.
Yeah.
2012 election, we elected. In 2013, they brought a CDF Act. 2013, which means 2012, we had an election. For the first time, we had Senate and we had Parliament. When we had Senate and Parliament, they passed the CDF Act in 2013 without consulting the Senate. Issues of separation of powers. Let's be honest with one another and tell Kenyans where the problem is. So, waliona sisi ni ma-MP wakadharau Senate. Wakaleta CDF 20 Act 2013. Then they brought NGCDF. We should also tell Kenya where NGCDF and when it started. In 2015. When they improved the act. Again, without involving the Senate. So to them, the Senate ilikuwa tu shadow, haikuwa important. That is where the problem is. Why didn't they include the Senate? So, the separation of powers, what we call the doctrine of separation of power, they took power as their own. And used it without bringing the other party together.
This other party.
Then they miss MP. One very important function is to be a member of parliament. That is a function. So what do you do when in the parliament? Do you go pick money for constituents? Is that a function I was studying in school? No. Your function is one, make law and debate policies. That is one function. Scrutinize work of the government. When an MP says, serikali ya nani inafanya vibaya, don't say ule MP anatuchukia. That is his function. Represent the constituents. Represent them. What is representation?
They say they do not have monies and they need to take these monies to them. Is not
so representation is to go pick money. Are you a banker?
And you might
are
need
you a
to
banker?
know. You might need to know that in this very government, there have been promises that also the Senate should have a kitty, and there's a conversation on the ground.
So
the members of county assembly should have kitties.
Yes, that is wrong. That is not their function. That's not a function of women rep. That's not a function of a senator.
Also,
That's not a function. The function is to represent and do what they're supposed to do as a representative of the people.
Okay.
These money issues are in the public policy, and that's why we have other agencies in the government. Surely, CDF, where was the money going before CDF? There was money. So how are the classes being built? Were they not being built? Why did they take the function of the TSC and the function of the parents board and the function of the board of governors?
And the members of parliament will tell you that at no point will they interact with these monies directly.
Listen, the BOG would write a recommendation to the ministry that we need to expand the school because the school is this and this and this. The ministry will give money to the board and the board will build the school. Why did the MP usurp the powers of the BOG, the powers of the PTA?
The MP says they do not interact with these funds directly.
They're like,
I've read for as an MP, I know how they interact.
Before that, I want to tell Daktari that Kenya is operating under a prism of very tough laws. That's why you see people making a lot of noise. The past, I'm shocked that Daktari claims to be an expert of governance, yet he does not support constitutionalism, where the powers on the privileges of government and those in power are checked. Now, you talk about CDF. A member of parliament will receive 137 million, okay? If you know how it works, after recurrent expenditures, it's around 60 or 70. Now, Mandera County has 6 constituencies. Times 70 is 420. Do you know our budget this year is 13 billion? Okay? So, what is 420 million vis-a-vis 13 billion? What should happen is this. Mandera County Education Bursary Act is very specific. That bursary, they said the objective and the purpose of this fund is to support needy students to proceed to secondary schools, tertiary, and technical institutions. Now, why are we saying tertiary and technical? Because poor children who get C-, D+, or who cannot go to college, D+ and below, will go to Mandera Technical Training College, which we have students, about 250, they will be assisted. CDF is money under Member of Parliament, and he dishes it left, right, and center to his kins, his girlfriends, his relatives. Okay? It is not supposed to be under Member of Parliament. I studied, I told you, myself, MSc in Governance and Security. And I want to tell my brother I'll be registering for my PhD this September. So very soon, titles are coming. Titles are coming.
Welcome.
Yeah, titles are coming.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this. I vied in 2013 and I vied in 2017 as a Member of Parliament. It is not my responsibility to take care of bills of funerals. Okay? How many, if you say people are taking care of dead people's relatives, how many are they? Do we have the list? How much have they paid this month?
Yeah.
We work with the data. You don't come and claim us that people are calling you.
We need this money.
People should not call you for money.
Yeah.
People should call you for policies. People should call you for representation. That's the work of a Member of Parliament. Now, if you give them 137 million, in the Kenya of today, 137 million is a lot of money. Now, how is he going to check the Kenya Kwanza government? How? How is he going to check treasury?
It becomes hard.
How is he going to control a budget that is checking their books where the money was? Why did we have control of budget? Do you think the guys who drafted this constitution were idiots? No. We came from a history where money is abused, left, right, and center. Why do we have controller of, Auditor General, controller of budget, SRC, so that there are separation of powers where institutions can check within themselves and Kenyans can check them. I wrote a letter to the controller of budget on December 14th. Through my queries, because I brought evidence, they wrote to Mandera County government on 21st. Okay? They replied me on 6th of January, but they did not give me the letter they wrote to the Mandera County government. Yesterday, I took a demand letter under Article 35, 42, 232, and Access to Information Act 2016, 24. Okay, and I gave them 7 days. Why do you think they were mandated to reply right to Mandera County?
And not reply.
6 queries, very fundamental. Where projects were, how much was spent, what is the code line for the item, what is the geographical area of this place, how much money was paid so far, how much is the balance, which company is this? It is because of the law, it's not me. Okay? Now, they wrote again to me that this is what we did of your complaint, we are waiting for them.
Yeah.
I took a letter and I gave them 7 days. If they don't reply, I will file a petition in court. That is the law. We want members of parliament of the James Orongo I used to know, the Matibas I used to know, the Paul Mute I used to know, so that, how much does a member of parliament earn, Linda?
1 million.
1 M. That is more than enough. If you're disciplined, I don't know if you're the type of people who go to Koinange maybe 5 times every month, and you're in bar every day, and you're doing a lot of nonsense things, that money will not be enough. We will give you a time.
That
Relax.
is on the extreme.
Relax.
That is on the extreme.
That is, yes.
Okay.
I'm a journalist. I'm not a governance guy. We know. It has been reported that members of parliament were spotted. Read the People Daily.
I think, to be fair,
as we close on this debate,
I'm also a journalist, a governance expert, a philosopher, so all those things all in one, and I'm also a Christian. So I'm thinking it is also good not to be very extreme. These are fathers.
The law is extreme.
Well, these are people who are very much loved by the people who voted for them.
Okay,
so let's give in to them. But one thing, let it be very clear. We are here discussing the merits and demerits of CDF. Now, that is not to be the discussion again. We need to be very clear what we are about. Because as we speak,
we don't need DCF, we have devolution.
CDF issue is before Parliament to decide how it will go. Let me, without going into the details, that is the time as Kenyans will come and say, we don't, when it comes to the public participation, we'll come and say, or referendum or whatever, I will not go to that. We'll come and say, we don't need it because ABCD. However, let's be practical what we are talking about today. The issue on the heart is this. The President of the Republic of Kenya has pronounced himself on his views about CDF. So the matter here is not whether the CDF is in the Constitution or whether what the MPs are doing is in the Constitution or not. Right now, the issue is the government has committed to send 2 billion per week to MPs for the purpose of this January to give to bursaries, and the money has delayed. The MPs are saying, wait a minute, we love you, we have no problem with the government, but where is our money? That is the discussion.
How is that our money?
Sorry. No. Let me put it, hold on. I'm talking.
Nakwambia tu
you are the anchor. No. You're protecting me.
Our money.
30 seconds.
Alikupatia daktari.
It's not protecting. Allowing rebuttals.
It is my time.
Allow rebuttals.
Allow rebuttals.
Allow rebuttals.
Nataka
the concept in conversation.
30 seconds. Less than 30 seconds.
Linda, there is what is called rebuttals.
30 seconds.
That is very serious. That is very serious.
Rebuttals.
30 seconds. Nauliza huyu atumie jina yake ya governance expert. Mimi ni political analyst. Yeye ni governance expert. Governance expert ni mtu amesoma hata sheria. Anaongea ukweli wa sheria. Unaona? Yeye amekuja kutetea kitu yenye haifai. CDF is wrong. Everything is wrong. Let me tell you, if we say today kwamba as a people tunaweza ikataa. Tuseme Supreme Court walisema vile walisema as a people tunakataa. That is as a people. But CDF imekataliwa na Supreme Court. Who is the president? Who is the parliament to go against the Supreme Court?
They're different from NGCDF.
The people is the only person who can go against
all of them.
Supreme Court.
All of them.
The people.
And that is it. That's exactly. Now we are
talking. Now tell me about that.
When this issue of CDF comes to the people, let him mobilize the millions of Kenyans to go and kill it in the referendum. Because as we speak right now, if you ask, because here, what we do in governance, by the way, it's good to be clear. And I think one day, I think there's sort of problem on who is a governance expert and what it contains. I think we'll need a workshop, so that all the
governance we have studied by lecturers.
All the governance, we go together and harmonize. Because, listen here.
I passed my exams in governance.
Exactly. Listen to this. What we are talking about here is this. If you ask, because we look at both sides, so that we are very fair. If you ask the MPs today, if you ask their speaker, the MPs and the clerk and everybody, they will tell you, remember there is a whole CDF committees, they will tell you that what was asked to be legal was what was their area. What was before the Supreme Court. If you ask them, I'm just saying, please, don't kill me because I'm not an MP.
We will.
If you ask them, they will tell you. What Supreme Court announced illegal was the area. The 2013. If you ask them, I said if you ask them. Hold on a minute.
And I've had them here.
If you ask them, exactly. Now, we have to be fair. So if you want now to continue insisting, yes, either go back to the whole Supreme with CDF. Look, we are giving options here. Governance people and political analysts, go back so that you come and tell us in the next term here, look here, you say this is what we have gone back to court. It has been declared illegal, so that all of us are on the same page. We don't want to do a mob justice on people. Now that is one. Number two, there's something. There's a debate going on in Parliament concerning entrenching CDF in the Constitution. At the time when it will come to the people, if it will do, or through the representatives, go and kill it there, so that we have a structured way of engaging issues in this country. We don't want to do things in a rowdy way. That's all what I'm saying.
Okay.
And you see, they have kept quiet because that is it.
Gentlemen, allow us to take a quick short break.
We
and
just
then,
kept quiet because
know,
in conversations you don't allow rebuttals.
Okay, well, he does not.
Yeah,
No,
But
no,
he
no.
allowed for
But I did. I just did.
He allowed
Some
for
mode of communication where
say
you allow
something.
people to
And this is a
react.
conversation that is on. We still have the members of parliament in Mombasa County. Let's see how today unfolds and what really needs to be done. Like he rightfully puts it, the law does not lock anyone to go out and challenge this, but then we can only wait to see. And it becomes hard because the members of parliament are saying this money is they are asking for the sake of the people. So then you ask yourself, which person
People.
or who?
Which people?
And who will go and challenge this, having been told that this is all
Believe you,
about
we'll go back to
you.
Supreme Court.
Oh,
Believe
yeah.
That's it. A good
All right, yes, now that's fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's an
Good
opening to
it's
that on
democracy.
the Constitution. We take a quick short break, and in 30 minutes, we come back, discuss the Raila politics.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is a line.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa mwonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori la historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutuku.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday. With a new year comes endless possibilities, and as we can
The Kenyan government is giving us.
Yes, we still have the conversation on. It's about the NGCDF and looking at the ruling and some of the matters that, you know, are still standing. We seek to see just how this developing story then will take shape. Gentlemen, allow us to shelve that one because it's a conversation that is on, and like we rightfully put it, Kenyans are allowed to proceed and challenge this even further. Before we get into, you know, this conversation of Kamkunji and what way Raila Odinga, if not Raila Odinga, what way the country, I think that was actually the main subject that we were to look into. That is the never-ending battle, political battles for that matter, just that we had to shift gears a bit owing to the, you know, unprecedented occurrence that played out yesterday, the demise of Professor George Magoha. And before then, gentlemen, I loop you in. Allow us to quickly get to our reporter, that is Mike Agungo, on, of course, more updates as pertaining to that. Mike Agungo is at the Lee Funeral Home. Mike Agungo, if you can hear me. Micah Gungo. Mike, we're coming to you for updates. Let's try and fix that. A bit of a hitch. I think my colleague Micah Gungo cannot hear me well. But once we're able to fix that, we'll definitely get more updates as pertaining to this. But gentlemen, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
Well, Raila is an embodiment of resilience in this country. So he is either bringing us bombshells or no looking back or earthquakes. Those are sloganism in Kenyan politics. But I think this was not the first meeting. There was the one in November. You remember Baba while you are away. It is a good thing in governance that the government is put into check. I mean, some people are looking at it, maybe will say naively, Raila lost the seat and he did not accept it. No. The only way constitutionally you can put pressure on government is to mention its ills so that those in power are listening. And that is so because you've seen Gachagua, the deputy president, responding. We have seen the president responding. I just want to say that Kenyans are now going through tough times. You've seen the reports on inflation. Any item that costed 1,000 maybe some months ago is now 1,200. The government of Ruto is going to borrow 3.6 trillion. So they were accusing Jubilee of borrowing money. But you see, there is things that you do in the televisions, and there is, when it comes to budget and things, how do you fund the deficit in the budget? So what right now needs to happen is this. Raila has the right to picket, to demonstrate peacefully, to air his views, to give, to put a check on the government. Whether he wants a nusumukate or he wants a handshake, that is up to him. So he has been around for quite some time. So I think there are issues within ODM, there are issues within Kenya Azimio. I'm sure you've seen when Raila was going to Kamukuji ground, some members of parliament were meeting Gachagua, allied, whether they were the guys who were defeated or those in parliament. There is a disquiet you will see from within the ODM, members of parliament, the likes of Junet, the likes of Mbadi have taken a back seat. So there is a lot going on within ODM, because once you come to power, regardless of what people think, those in parliament will always want to work with the government, because 5 years in the cold is a very long time. So what I think will happen is this, the president is now in charge. I don't think it will be morally and ethically good in terms of his political hygiene to respond to Ruto Raila all the time. He should sit in State House, make sure policies are implemented. Remember the fertilizer thing, 3,500? I want my father in Mandera North to get a fertilizer so that we pay the 3,500. We have 6 farms. We need to farm them. They need to give us ploughing tractors. They need to give us seeds. They need to revamp the agricultural extensions so that we grow our own food and have surplus so that we sell and make money. That is what should bother me.
Wow.
Ruto is in State House.
Yes.
5 years as a president. I want cost of living to go down by the next 2 harvests.
Well, fair enough. Do we have Micah Gungo? Micah Gungo, briefly update us before we take you, Daktari.
Thank you so much, Linda. Lela, indeed, I can get you loud and clear. We do apologize to our viewers for an earlier technical hitch, but we are back. We are at Lee Funeral Home here in Nairobi, where the body of the former Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has been laid. Was brought here yesterday after he passed on. And according to family friend Mr. Walter, said that Mr. Magoha was about 4 times collapsed, but the efforts to resuscitate him were futile after he collapsed the last time 100 meters to Nairobi Hospital, where he was taken after he was called, Mr. Walter Wanda, he was called to his home to go take care of him, but unfortunately his condition was, he was unable to take care of him at that particular time before they rushed him to Nairobi Hospital. So here at Lee Funeral Home, we have just arrived, and activities are ongoing. Maybe perhaps my camera person can pan around and show you what's going on. Workers here, employees here, just making sure that all are in order before the family members, perhaps the leaders, government officials arrives here, maybe to get a snitch on what's happening. We are also waiting to see what the family members will be saying, will be telling us, maybe will be updating us on what maybe they will be doing after they understand, after the plans maybe to lay his body at home or here in Nairobi. We will be understanding that a little bit later. So as of now, it's just a matter of waiting. We have a tent here just that shows how people will be coming to take a rest after arriving here. And we also have security officers that have been put here just to make sure that security here is tight so that nothing goes wrong this morning. And we are also waiting to see what other leaders will be saying after the demise of former Cabinet Secretary for Education, George Magoha, because last evening we've seen most of his colleagues, former colleagues, whom they worked together in the cabinet of former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, sending tributes and condolences to the family and friends of former CS, just saying that he was a person who worked well with them. And of course, we also had Mr. Ngonyi saying that one day he arrived at the State House with a bulky of papers, with a bulky of documents. He had a very great heart. He was a person who really wanted to work with people in a very positive condition. So we are waiting here at Lee Funeral Home to see, to unravel what the family will be talking about, will be saying about the plans maybe to lay his body a little bit later after his demise. Back to you, studio. From Lee Funeral Home, I'm Mike Kagwango.
Well, thank you so much, Michael Lungo, who will be stationed in, at the Lee Funeral Home for the better part of the day for these very updates, and will definitely be crossing over there here and time and again, just so we would get the updates. Dr. Eric Regalo, or political analyst Eric Regalo. Dr. let me take it away from you and give it to him briefly so that you can tell us that, there's that general feel that Right Honorable Raila Odinga should just perhaps nurture someone, to take up politics or to take up his, game, his prowess for that very matter, is one of the things that people are talking about. And equally, just to say, why is it that we have to speak about him every other time? And then others then would ask, why is it that this has been, narrowed down to being a Raila factor, yet it is one that speaks to the question of democracy in the country and just how best we can, come to a space where we say now we had figures that walked us through this journey of liberation, and true to it was for the benefit of the people. And even worse, we ask ourselves, it was just a week when, everyone was in Siaya, and it appeared like this had been given a clean bill of health by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the blessings of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Then a week later, it's a whole different affair.
Linda, I want to tell you that we have the Raila factor in Kenya that will be there many years to come. Should he go today, God forbid, the Raila factor will still reverberate for many, many years to come. The Raila people know is a Raila who is be fighting for the freedom of Kenya. Freedom of Kenya, I'm not saying that Kenya is under colonial rule, but the freedom of political engagement where politics and law has been misconstrued. And this, I'm saying, because the Raila is a seasoned politician who has been bringing a communique in Kenya. We had a Raila of 1992. That was a different Raila from a Raila of 2010. The Raila of 1992 was for the space of democracy, repeal of Section 2A, and multipartyism coming back to the country. It happened. Then came the Raila of 2010 from 2007, a Raila of new constitution in 2005, which happened in 2010. The Raila of devolution, and we have devolution. Now, we have the Raila of the rule of law. And that will happen. Then we'll have another Raila. So the Raila of the rule of law is the Raila talking today. He's not telling us to change the constitution. He's telling us follow the law to the letter. So the Raila of rule of law is telling you, what did you tell the people? Raila of rule of law is telling that you told the people that you will give them NHIF by December. How many have free NHIF? The Raila is telling you, you told them that you will bring down the cost of living, but you're bringing taxes up. So he's telling you, why did you tell people lies? The Raila of today is telling you, stop reckless utterances as a president. Why are you saying some people wanted to kill IEBC chair? You are the president. You are the head of state and government. Are you supposed to be backing and bickering? No. You have the structures of state. If somebody wanted to kill IBC chair, why is the IBC chair first? He should have gone to police to do what? To report. Then the law starts functioning. So who are you? Why are you making utterances? That's the Raila of today. Raila of today is telling you Kenyans, you're going to be taxed twice. You are paying taxes, then you're going to be taxed on your M-Pesa. The Raila of today is telling you, do you want to live in a country where you cannot talk? Because when you talk, you are wrong. The Raila of today is telling you, you're going to church to pray, not to calling Raila 10 times in church. Is Raila Jesus Christ? Is Raila Prophet Muhammad? Instead of calling the name of God, you're calling Raila, Kemodo, Kemodo, Mutu huyu, Mutu huyu. You're supposed to pray. That is the Raila telling you. So the Raila is telling the government, hey, shape up, guys. Or else we will go to the people. Now we are going to the people. Now we are with the people. So the Raila of today is telling you, if you go to Nyanza, we'll support you, bring development. But don't come with the Bible. We are not ready for that. If you go to the other areas, tell them, habari zenu, mwadhani agosho, tell them. But you come to us, tell us what you want to do to us. We will go to church and say mwadhani agosho on Sunday. Don't come with mwadhani agosho on top of the vehicle. That is not our business. We know who we pray. You're taking mwadhani agosho to a Muslim. You're taking mwadhani agosho to an Indian who are not of the same denomination. So don't tell us that. There are people you're telling mwadhani agosho, they pray facing Mount Kenya. Which mwadhani are you telling them? So when you go to the people, stop the mwadhani agosho. Give us the development. Raila today is telling you, when you go to some places where you say mwadhani agosho, continue. But when you come to us, development. So when somebody came to us, give us development.
Raila of today is also telling us that he is not going to recognize.
And I am not recognizing myself because I am following Raila.
Who is he telling to do?
He's telling me, do you believe the election went well? Eric says no. Do you recognize? No. So who is your president? Raila Amolo Odinga is my president.
Interesting.
Thank you so much. One, I want to say from the word go, personally, as a student of political science, I respect Raila Odinga. And I can tell you today, the president of this republic, William Ruto, respects Raila Odinga as a human being, as a senior, as an elder.
Dr. I am taking it away from you shortly. So we can fix your mic. It looks like money has been poured.
He was doing some calculations.
No.
He was doing some calculations. No, he was doing some calculations. I was telling him I can keep that balance. Now, on a lighter note.
Someone is going to fix it.
Yeah, it's going to be fixed. Relax.
Yeah?
Today the airwave is against you. It's just against. Now, let me say this. First of all, when the president, when Honorable Raila Odinga says he does not recognize President Ruto's presidency because the election was either fraud or whatever it is, he's not committing any crime. There is no constitutional provision for me, Abdullahi, to say that if I say today Ruto is not the president, I cannot be arrested because I am exercising my freedom of speech. That is one. Two, Raila was speaking to the audience. I said it in KBC before even he came, because that morning I was at KBC. He was attacking the legitimacy of the government. He was sending perception out there. For political hygiene, it's a very dangerous trend. Because before the election, investors were scared about this country. Now, investors are coming back. But if you read Ruto's budget now, fiscal paper plan from Treasury, it's not much different from the Jubilee government. Because there are things that they are working on, which I think, partly I think why the likes of David Ndii and the likes are quiet. There's a lot happening within Treasury, advisory, and the economic recovery stimulant and all that. You'll see that they are targeting the wealthy and the capital. So that way, taxes reduction will come later on. But right now they have to raise taxes on that. Now, Raila is doing a good job because I believe someone has to put check in this government. Because the moment we miss that, then these guys will just behave the way they want. But how do we do it? Let's do it within the prism of our constitution. Let's do it within the laws we have. Let us respect each other. Let us allow the president himself to deliver. But as long as, because I told you, I profess to Islam. I go to the mosque.
Dr. We are looking in.
Yes, we'll fix, don't worry. Patience is a very good virtue.
But your mic is fixed.
Yes, so what we'll do, I'll give it to you, Dr. I can even donate my time, don't worry. So what I'm saying is this. In the Quran, we are told to respect people, yes, but speak the truth. Speak the truth. Speak the truth. In fact, the Quran and the Hadith go ahead and tell you, if there is unjust and you can't speak the truth, you will be harmed. Hate it from the heart. If you can't do that because you're going to could be harmed, migrate from the place. Islam does not entertain unjust. God himself tells us, I am not going to be unjust amongst you. Be just to yourselves. So even in the Bible, we don't need to release venom in church. Because I sometimes doubt, I look at the Catholics. The Catholics and Muslims have a lot in similarity. And when I speak to nuns and my friends who go to church, I ask, because like in the mosque, you cannot tell us those things. The congregation will leave. So why do people go to church and then speak about Raila? I agree.
Sure.
That is a place of worship. You can speak about Raila in the rallies or in the media. But respect Christianity. In church, let's believe in God, say the word of prayer. And then Christians have very bad manners. There is someone dead in the coffin. The family of the people are mourning.
Then you still
You talk about Raila, you talk Abdullah Alas, you talk about Linda. It's nonsense. So, as a Muslim, I told my family members, in the event my day comes, I told it's going to be my wife and my dad who are going to wash my body. You know why I'm saying that? I do not want people I consider to be filthy to touch my body, even in death. My wife will be poured in the water. Legal is allowed in Islam. My dad is my dad. I told him, if you go before me, I will wash you. If I go before you, make sure my body is not touched by anyone. Because if you're lying, if you're stealing from the poor, if you're always unjust to people, what the hell will you do with my body?
I think I was saying that as a student of political science, I personally respect Raila Odinga. The president of this Republic of Kenya respects Raila Odinga. because as an elder, as a statesman, who has done so much for this country. That is paramount. Remember, we all live by the grace of God, so it's good to appreciate that God has given other people life, and we all must coexist. Nobody is supposed to be out of this country. We are all supposed to live here. Now, having said that, I want to say this, that suddenly, Raila Odinga comes, and just days before, Kioni goes out, he makes some assumptions, he makes some report of something that happened. They try to bring in Vanguard Africa, whose advisory member is John Githongo, who says they have nothing to do with the report. Actually, I studied that report, Vanguard Africa. The guy who wrote that article is one of the founding directors of Vanguard. Now, he was making reference to the same whistleblower. So it was not their report. Let it be very clear, because information is important. Now, so the whole issue is about the whistleblower. The question is, who is this whistleblower? Why now? Why didn't he apply to go to the Supreme Court and swear by the Bible and give evidence where it mattered? Because right now, it doesn't matter. The only thing we are waiting right now about the issue about elections, what happened, is the East African Court of Justice with Martha Karua. Right now, it's done. So when you come here, we can only say one thing. The whole thing was cooked, so that now emotions can begin being built up.
Sorry, I asked this question to the gentleman I had yesterday.
Yes.
And I think I'll ask you again.
Please.
That we have, exhausted all the constitutional process in the country in relation to an election. To imagine that, they could come or they could surface a report that is genuine at some, extent. You want us to tell ourselves that we're just going to overlook that, and you have seen what has played out in other countries. We have seen how, the United States followed up on cases of, just how it appeared as though Russia was involved in the election, during the times of Trump. To the depth of it, articulating it day in and out. And that for us, now that we have gotten to the level of the Supreme Court, we should just allow for some of these reports that could have some facts on it, overlooked.
Very important, the first question. What is the authenticity of the report? Who is this anonymous person? You don't do whistleblowing that way. If you have to do whistleblowing, you bring facts that can be verified. You see, when you begin talking about this is what happened, Laila had 8 million, the simple question is, we go back to that 4A, Form 34A. Simple. We go back to Form 34A and ask you, where are your forms? We compare with ours. The whole story goes back to Chebukati of 15th. Yeah, of course, Chebukati of 15th and the Supreme Court ruling. So the point is very clear. Kindly, what could be because we do analysis, right? What could be the motive of waiting for 6 months? Then somebody anonymous, they are not coming to say, I'm so and so, and giving and swearing affidavit. Then maybe you have to ask a very good question. Suppose some information come later. Go knock on the Supreme Court back. Go knock on the Supreme Court if they admit, because legally, whatever this report in Anmas is saying does not make sense legally, only politically. And that's why it has been pulled now to bring back the Raila. Okay? To bring back the Raila, because Raila is fearing, look, already, it's more or less, people are with the president in Nyanza, and in a big way.
3 minutes.
In a big way, they are with Nyanza. He must recreate himself. Raila must recreate himself. But it is very simple. The president said clearly, we know you. We can see where this is going. Don't say you don't want a handshake. We know from 97, 2002, to 2017, you always came back, and after you came back to the governments, they collapsed. So the president is saying, don't begin saying you don't need. We know. You don't have to say it. Actions speak louder than words. Because that's what he did to swear himself in 2017 to be admitted for handshake. That's what he did after 2002, went and formed ODM and killed, almost paralyzed the Kibaki's government. That's what he did with President Moi in 97. Went and looked for that, whatever, some people appointed, then Kanu died. So the question is, do we want that anymore? The president is saying, wait, please, you have a right to live in Kenya as an opposition leader. The president himself went and said, I have a proposal. Kindly play your part, not inside government. You can play your part. You can play your part outside government. So for me, what Raila is doing is to try to recreate himself.
So when
he
plays
to be relevant
outside government, then you claim that this. This is.
You see, it is the president. Look, it is the president who said, can you oversight government in a structured way?
And that this. Okay.
So
yes.
How? What is structured?
Structured is the leader of the official opposition.
1 minute.
Okay. We don't have the leader of official opposition in structured law.
Nothing.
Please, this guy should.
It's a proposal.
That's why I said that proposal will not see the day, because It is made for who?
So it's just another BBI.
Yes, it's just another BBI. Because that one is change of constitution. For you to change any part of the ruling of Kenya, you go to the people.
Is that why you want to get government to the back door?
Listen,
no, it's not acceptable.
So what I'm telling my brother is, that's why he's a governance expert. And that's why he did political science. Just say the truth. And my brother talked about the truth. It will set you free. Raila is doing his work inside the government. We're in the parliamentary system. So which government are you talking about?
As majority.
I'm in the government of UDA because UDA is my government today. Is it? I may not know the president of Kenya, but who is in the government?
It is the Kenya Kwanza team.
It's the Kenya Kwanza team. So am I part of Kenya Kwanza government? Parliamentary system, yes. As I talk, I'm a member of Kenya Kwanza government. So what is government? Am I part of government of Kenya? He's a political scientist. Which is state and which is government? We are all part of the government. So he should stop this thing that Raila should do it out of the government. So he's doing it where? In Uganda.
My 1 minute.
Doctor, it's you who wants to rush somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
It's only 1 minute.
Exactly.
Okay. That is his.
No, I can donate.
You can donate,
yes.
And then we close it.
Yes, no
all right.
In my 1 minute, very simple.
Make it
we are saying,
so that
for now,
say
before the leader of official opposition is created, Raila has troops in parliament through minority leadership.
He does.
Can he exercise his powers? Whatever he wants to do, oversight government in a structured way. But there's no handshake.
Is he not their leader?
No handshake.
I'll tell you this. When my colleague speaks like that, and the president responds, and Gachagua responds, they know the substance in him, they fear. Okay? So let's not underestimate that. He's saying 202, 207. So someone who has power to do that is because he has very influence. But I'll say this. The politics of election is gone. Now we are in the politics of reviving this country and building the next 5 years. President Dr. William Ruto is my president today. Whether I voted for him or not is not the subject. I am in this country. If I want to take the national government, first of all, I don't think the president as a state officer can initiate anything. BBI took that to the dustbin. It's either the people or through the parliamentary initiative. So that has been settled. What we will need right now is on both sides. Building a country, it took us 60 years to come to where we are. It has taken us 50 years for Mandela to get a budget of 13 billion. Let's not destroy our country like Libya, Somalia, or Syria. This country is bigger than all of us. Getting a position is a very, office where you serve Kenyans, but we have 55 million Kenyans. About 22 of them have nothing to eat. That is what should worry us.
True. And just who is going to get off the hook of who is the conversation that it's on, that a seasoned politician in Raila Odinga perhaps trying to, get the president fall into this bait. Will he not? Looking at the historic, journey of Right Honorable Raila Odinga, how he managed what we call a handshake with Moi and Kibaki, and as well as Uhuru. Well, we can only wait to see, or just how quick will the president be to successfully, get himself off the hook. If it's so, we can only wait to see. Gentlemen, we have to close it at this very point because we shift gears to a different conversation. I know this one we haven't exhausted as should have been, but all the same, it's a conversation that is ongoing in the country, developing matter for that, a developing story for that matter. And so if it is not going to be them, then we will articulate this with other people. But it's always a pleasure to have you, Abdullahi Alas, the last speaker, governance and a policy analyst, as well as Eric Regalo, political analyst, and Dr. Peter Mbai, who's a governance expert. Thank you so much for speaking.